You're about to hear the tones of the TermoFuzz MkII from the folks over at Shift-Line. This is a fuzz drive pedal, but it's more than that. It's capable of overdrive, distortion, fuzz, octave distortion, and just about everything else. It can also self-oscillate if you set it up in that way. I'll run you through how this works in just a sec, but you're about to hear some different tones that this is capable of in the context of a jam track, and then I'll give you a full rundown of it. Here we go. Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. I hope you're doing well. In today's video, we're checking out the TermoFuzz MkII from the folks over at Shift-Line. Now, thanks to this control over here called mode, you're able to get so many different tones out of this, and then you can turn up the hum control and go crazy with an octaver. Before we get into this video, a massive thanks to Oleg from Shift-Line for sending this out and sponsoring this video. If you want to take a look at this pedal, I'll link it down below. Now, this pedal will get kind of crazy, and I'm going to try my best to showcase a range of different tones, from some of the more standard or traditional tones all the way through to some crazy self-oscillating octave tones towards the end of this video. I'll timestamp everything down below if you want to skip ahead, back or forth or anything like that. But yeah, it's a really unique pedal. I'll just give you a quick rundown of the controls here, and then we'll get stuck into some tones. So let's take a look. This is not only an overdrive, it will do fuzz, distortion, octave, tones, and just about everything else. And a lot of this comes from the mode control over here. So with it in this position, we're getting a typical overdrive tone, and then it starts kind of creeping into fuzz territory the further you turn it up to about dead center. Then as we start bringing it this way, it's going to be like a high gain fuzz and then getting into distortion tones. And you can have this wherever you like and find a sound that really works for you. It's quite musical and you're very different in basically every position. So if you're looking for a sort of mix between an overdrive and a fuzz, you can have it somewhere along here and get that type of tone, which is pretty cool. Now, the hum control on this side operates the lower octave that you can have kick in. And again, you can get lots of different sounds with this, from a subtle octave effect on this side all the way through to it being really aggressive and basically just self-oscillating, which is crazy, and I'll show you that throughout the video as well. But just know this is a very flexible pedal in terms of tone. You've just got to kind of experiment around with it and find the thing that works best for you when it comes to this control. If you're looking for a standard overdrive or 70s distortion type tone, you can leave this all the way off. You won't need it whatsoever. Now, while this pedal doesn't actually have a tone control, we do get 3 positions on the high pass filter and 3 positions on the low pass filter. Now, high pass filters allow all the high end to pass while modifying the low end. So it's kind of the reverse if you're not familiar with how this works. So you can see that in the toggle switch in the down position over here, it's rolling off the low end. We've got our flat position here, which is our neutral position. And this one not only removes the low end, but it adds high end back. The low pass filter does the opposite. So it's going to remove top end if you have it in the down position. It's going to remove top end and boost low end in the up position, or you can have it flat dead center. In the center of the pedal, we have the blend control. Now, this is what they call a bipolar wet-dry mix, which is something I've not heard that term before when it comes to a control like this, but this allows you to do a few different things. So if you just want your standard overdrive fuzz or distortion tones, you can leave it at 12 o'clock, and 12 o'clock on the setting is actually notched, so that's really cool. Anywhere between full counterclockwise to the left here with the blend control all the way back to 12 o'clock, the signal is going to be in phase. Now, if you start creeping it past 12 o'clock all the way full the signal is actually going to be out of phase. This is a very unique control, and I don't think I've seen it on many other pedals. One of the things I noticed with this pedal is if you crank the drive, it gets much louder. So the volume control here has more than enough volume to really rip at a gig, you know, cutting the mix. You'll have no problems being heard with this. The output volume on it is full on, especially once you start kind of cranking up the gain control. All right, let's kick it off. I'm going to be playing my Vola Oz for today's video because it's got a nice selection of different pickups. And we're going into the clean channel of my Fender Blues Deluxe back here, which is mic'd up with an AEA ribbon microphone. So this is a real amp, speaker, and mic in the room up loud. Here we go. This is my clean tone. So we're going to start with the overdrive tone. So I've got the harm control, which is this one over here, and the mode all the way to the left, giving us a pretty typical sort of overdrive tone. It's kind of loud too. Have a listen to this. Beautiful sound. Now, if you want to just turn up the gain, you can crank it up this way. I'm going to back off the volume a bit because the more you push the gain, the louder the pedal gets. Bridge pickup. Yeah, let's bring the gain down. I'll bring the volume back up. So that's almost dead clean. If you want to push the volume more, you can get more of a clean boost. And just bring the gain back up a little bit. Let's max the drive out here. Man, it gets loud with that up. So let's just crank it. I'll start with my volume control just up from off. So I mean, already just by adjusting the volume and gain control, I can get anything from a nice overdrive to a clean boost or a nice cleaner sound, or I can just crank up the drive. So yeah, it's very versatile when it comes to the overdrive circuit. All right, let's try some distortion tones here. So what I've done, I've moved the mode dial over to where the distortions kick in. And this is super musical if you're a fan of like 70s and you can get those 80s sort of rock tones. I think you'll get a kick out of this. Now, if you know the channel, I usually prefer running two overdrives together than just using like a distortion tone. For me, that usually works better, but this has that sound that would cut the mix beautifully. I mean, you can click that on and just sort of forget about it. It's really cool. This is with the volume control down. know what you think. Let me show you a few of the different fuzz tones you can get out of this just by using this setting right here. So with the mode dial, where it's set right now, we'll start the fuzz circuit, and then as I move it to about 12 o'clock or so, you can get vastly different sounds. So let's have a listen to this. We'll go to bridge pickup to start with. Yeah, so just by moving the mood control, I can get vastly different flavors of fuzz there, which is pretty wild. And just quickly, I want to show you this fuzz tone that I dialed in that I think would suit, you know, blues rock kind of stuff, but for what I do, this is the fuzz sound that I really like. Yeah, you can kind of hear the note kind of dying off at the end there. I really dig it. This next setting is a fuzz octave, so we've finally got the harm control dialed in. Now, just in my testing with this, it sounds best just for single note stuff with this particular setting, but let's give it a go. Really musical. Yeah, you can hear that sort of like intensity of the sound in the background of that. It's crazy. In the manual, there's an octave setting as well, which still gives you a lot of drive, but it gives you a very different sound, and that's because we're using this middle control over here. So the blend control changes the phasing of the sound, and I'll experiment around with it just to show you the difference. And I've set this up just slightly different to the manual because it sounded better to my ear. Here we go. Almost got that low end Hammond thing going on. I'll put this back to the center. So you can hear a bit of noise there where I move it on the fly, but once it sort of kicks into gear, you're good to go. But yeah, you can definitely get some different sounds just by using this middle control over here. Now, if you're wondering how crazy this pedal can get, if you're a long-term subscriber, think back to the robot pedal. That's right, it kind of mimics like this crazy oscillation, octave, fuzz, distortion thing, and that's where I've got it set up right now. So the pedal's currently off. When I turn it on, it's just going to start generating sound. So yeah, you can play over it and it's going to be still, you can still hear the notes, but man, have a listen to this. This is crazy. Man, that's insane. So yeah, look, If you're way more musical than me with that kind of stuff, then go ahead and use it. But yeah, it kicks in at about the 3 count, which I love. And then it just goes crazy. So yeah, you can fully experiment around with all of these sounds too. Don't think you're just stuck using the presets, but it's a good place to start to kind of find something a little bit different and unique. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the high and low pass filters. We'll start with the high pass filter on this side. I'll just play the same thing 3 times so you can hear exactly what this is doing. So we'll start in the center. Yeah, it makes a huge difference to the sound. Let's go over to the low pass filter. I'll put the high pass back to the center. Now let's try that position with this toggle switch up. Here we go. Alright, let's wrap this up. I'm going to give you my final thoughts here on the TermoFuzz from ShiftLine. Now this is the second ShiftLine pedal I've had my hands on, and build quality wise it's identical to the last, which means it's built great. It has this really cool kind of like asphalt feeling case. It's kind of got a really unique finish to it, and the buttons and dials, all that kind of stuff, all feel great. So no complaints there when it comes to build quality. I love the fact it can run from either 9 or 12 volts power supplies, which is cool. I ran it on 12 volts throughout the entirety of this video. Now when it comes to tones, this is a bit of an anomaly. Not only can it do a clean boost, an overdrive, fuzz, distortion, and octave, it can also go crazy. Like that last sound, I don't even know what it was, but it is what it is. You can get all those kind of crazy oscillated octave and modulation thing, and not modulation, but it's kind of like it's modulating in the background. So it's like on autopilot to some degree. So it does a lot really well. This is kind of reminiscent of how Kernem made the Moho, which is an all-in-one fuzz pedal where the mood control changes the different fuzz types. This is kind of along those lines, but it gives you lots of different sounds. So it's unique in that way. Now, not all of the sounds will probably appeal to you that I showcased in this video, but it's important to showcase what it can do. And whether you're looking for a fuzz, overdrive, distortion, or something that can do all of them, it's a good choice for that. While the toggle switches are really usable, and it definitely makes a huge difference to the sound, I still would have preferred just having a tone control personally, but I definitely don't think that's a deal breaker, and you can make your mind up whether or not that's right for you. For me personally, the distortion and overdrive tones were really musical, and I also love some of the octave fuzz sounds as well. You can really get a lot out of it, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, you can fully customize this pedal to get a sound that's unlike anything else. I think that's what they were going for with this, which makes it pretty wild. So yeah, if you want to check this out, I'll link it below. Thanks to ShiftLine for sending it out, and I will catch you on the next video. Catch you soon.